Well, you don't have to watch all of the footage back. I'll cut all the bad bits where we're like, we don't know this myth at all. And we're going to go to the British Museum. So as you can see, I'm back in my office. I'm just doing some work on my book on the train. Do you want to say a little bit more about what you have been teaching and what you will be teaching and how that relates to your research?
Yeah, I can do. So my research is on Greek tragedy, very specifically Greek tragedy, with some archaic poetry as well, mostly lyric. And I have taught Latin language at an intensive level.
Not Greek.
Not Greek.
Decidedly not Greek. Latin and Greek are not the same language.
I taught some seminars on Greek myths, so that was quite good, although covered a lot of texts that I haven't done before, like philosophy and Plato we had a week on, which is not something I've done a lot before teaching this course.
Plato makes me want to cry. Yeah. Particularly the myth of
Yeah, it was creation myths.
Oh, yeah.
Prometheus.
No. Sorry, Platonists. But Plato is horrible.
Yes.
Not quite as horrible as Aristotle.
No, Aristotle's definitely worse. I'm not an Aristotle fan. I haven't had to teach any Aristotle.
I had to teach Aristotle and it's not fun.
I had to do some of the poetics for my Greek epic course, so that was the second
but
semester.
that makes sense.
But yeah, and I was allowed to teach that as here's some terrible things Aristotle said, which were obviously wrong.
Yeah.
So that was quite fun.
Is that another way to teach Aristotle? Sorry. Aristotelianists? Is that what they are?
I don't know, Aristotelians maybe? Oh no, that doesn't sound good.
No, I don't know. Sorry if you study Aristotle.
I guess just sorry philosophers.
Yeah, sorry ancient philosophers.
So that was the other big course I had. That was Homer's Iliad and Apollonius's Argonautica.
I love the Argonautica.
I do now. I didn't know it as well before I taught it, and so I didn't love it previously. But I do quite like it now, and actually teaching that has possibly given me some ideas for future research, which was quite fun. Kind of gaps, things I wanted to tell my students to read, but they didn't exist.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been quite useful for showing me the shape of a totally different field. That's not kind of the stuff I work on. And then this year I have the Odyssey, which I mentioned is the big first year course. Latin language again, that's the same intensive course. And next semester, Virgil's Aeneid. That's my kind of big literature course.
How are you feeling about teaching Virgil's Aeneid?
It's not totally foreign to me. I don't think you can do, well, apparently you can do classics and not read it. But I think it's quite hard to do a degree in classics in this country and not have read and studied the Aeneid.
But I mean, don't forget that I think that what I have done is significantly more in the ancient history realm of classics broadly than...
Yeah, whereas I've done, not totally, I did do quite a lot of ancient history in my undergraduate, but I have done the kind of key literature bits as well. But it's not my favourite thing to spend 22 hours talking about, it has to be said.
How do you deal with teaching outside your research area?
It's a lot of work. It needs a lot more preparation than teaching in my research area. So I did actually admit that I have got an MA module at the moment on women in Greek tragedy, so that is in my research area. And although there's a lot of kind of admin, putting together reading lists for students and so on, I know what should be on the reading lists. So it's putting them together and kind of formatting them and sending them to the right students is the task. Whereas for something that I'm not in the area, finding out what needs to be on the list is a kind of additional long task and kind of reading up on the scholarship, because I haven't studied the Aeneid for a while, so I'm a few years out of date in terms of what's most up to date. So I can certainly do it, but it is going to require a lot of extra background reading, which if I was teaching in my area, I'd be doing anyway, because I'm already kind of immersing myself in that stuff. So it's an extra kind of workload.
Yeah. Do you feel like, purely in terms of your career progression, it's worth teaching outside of your area? Would you recommend to, say, current PhDs who have an opportunity to teach outside their research area that they should if they have the time, or that they should stick to teaching in their research area because it's easier, and on the CV teaching is teaching?
If you can, being flexible is really good. I got this current job partly because I could teach the Latin language. They needed someone who could do that, and of the cohort interviewed for these jobs, I was the best able to teach both languages. So my teaching also changed a lot depending on who else they hired, but the fact that I could do that meant that I was much easier to hire. So being flexible is really great, and it can make you more employable. And, you know, as I found with the Argonautica, you can discover things that you didn't know you would really like in teaching things. You know, you get to know these texts really well, you get to develop your own opinions on them, you get to see student opinions on them, and all of that can be really fun, even if it's a lot of work. Having said that, the workload is a massive issue. We are already overworked, and anything you can do to minimise your workload in a lot of these posts is important.
Yeah.
Teaching too much stuff outside of your area, and particularly because it's things like I had last year dissertations to supervise outside of my area as well, quite far outside of my area, and so it all adds up. It's all kind of multiple things outside your area in different places, and if you're doing too much of that, then it's just too hard to keep on top of. And there can be frustrations in terms of feeling like your area is going on without you, and who you are as a researcher is not getting expressed in the workplace, and what the students talk to you about is not the stuff you're actually the most interested in. And that can be quite difficult and needs to be kind of carefully managed, I think. Yeah.
That's actually a really good point. The idea that your identity as a researcher and your identity as a teacher in some ways need to overlap, so that you can feel that you have a whole coherent academic identity.
Yes.
Yeah, I struggle with that sometimes too.
Really? I think we would.
Yeah. So you mentioned supervising dissertations, and that's one of the things which I really enjoy doing, but that I had never really, before I got a full-time job, I had never kind of considered. It's not something that I had experience in doing before. What are the parts of your job as a full-time academic now that you most surprised you?
So I had a bit of an odd entry into my full-time job because I was doing a lot of sessional teaching at the very end of my PhD. Because I finished in December, I had that year where and my funding had finished before then. I was teaching a lot of different things, but also doing kind of study advice and things. So I was having access to parts of academic supporting of students that most PhD students maybe don't experience so much of. But I think I then also, when I first got this job, was senior tutor, and that was a big pastoral role. And I knew that pastoral support was important, and I had done some of it through a study advice position, but I was not anticipating the level of kind of student problems that would be brought to me, and the degree of support that I would be expected to provide, the degree of knowledge about these kind of things that I was expected to just have. And that really did take me by surprise. I think that was probably the biggest thing.
Fair enough. I think the admin. Like I knew that there was a lot of admin, but I just had no idea really how much admin there was. And how many spreadsheets.
Yeah, but I worked in university admin at the beginning of my PhD when I was
so you knew about
so I knew that all this stuff was going on behind the scenes because I'd been one of the, what we call PASS staff at Manchester. I'd been that at Oxford for a bit at the start of my PhD, so I knew that this stuff was going on. I just didn't have to do it until I came out this end.
I just, there are so many spreadsheets. And like a spreadsheet of spreadsheets?
We don't have one of those.
These are like the meta levels of spreadsheets. Gosh.
Yeah. There's a lot of paperwork as well, actually. Even, you mentioned the dissertation supervision. We have, title forms, we have supervision forms, we have then forms to fill in our feedback in terms of the marking, endless forms for them. So there's a lot of that, which I was surprised by how much paperwork we're producing.
Yeah, no, that's That is something which really surprised me as well. We have like a whole shared drive just of forms.
Yeah, us too. Most of our Dropbox is just kind of form for this, form for that.
I assume that most departments' shared drives are, or Dropboxes or whatever, are just shared forms. If your department's shared drive has things on it other than forms or spreadsheets, leave a comment below and let us know, because I don't believe that that exists.
Yeah, and what are you using it for? What good things could we be using ours for?
I know, exactly. Maybe I should start like leaving
pictures,
Parks and Rec gifts or something. Click
fun
me.
Quizzes.
Yeah. But like actually fun, not like academic fun.
Oh, I think they are quite fun.
You're going to start leaving Latin quizzes, aren't you?
No. Greek quizzes, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, final question. What are your top 3 things about being an academic that you love?
I really like teaching, and that's too big a category really, because teaching is not, you know, there are lots of things about teaching, and I don't like marking, and that's the thing about teaching.
Yeah.
But I really like the conversations you have with students where they find something that they didn't know they were interested in, and kind of they light up and they love it, and they think, how can I know more about this? And you send them off to read things, and they come back and you can see how much impact that something you said has had on them, and how much enjoyment they've got out of that, and I really like that. And although I don't like the Latin side of it much, I also really like beginner's language teaching for that, because you can see them learning something. You put them in a room, you tell them a thing, and then a week later they can translate a Latin sentence, whereas the week before they didn't even really know what Latin was.
Yeah.
And that's that kind of measurable progress that you can see that you're having this positive impact is great. I really like that. And I like most of my students most of the time as well. So that's all fun. So can I have that one thing or 2 things?
That can be one thing.
Okay. I like my research very much, and I like talking about my research very much. So the chance to get to do that and kind of pursue the stuff that I'm interested in is really important, and I really love that. And about my job. I have a third thing.
Well, you can make the teaching thing 2 things if you want to do that.
I like a lot. I mean, colleagues as well. I like the fact that in academia we are all kind of in the, not just necessarily my colleagues, but all of the academics I've had access to, people like you. That we have this kind of big shared thing in the middle, and it draws us all together, and we all enjoy it, and we all kind of understand it, and that's really great.
Yeah.
I really like that, and I like all the conversations I've had with fantastic people that I've met in academia.
All right. Well, we are going to get back to our Prosecco. Thanks so much for watching. You can follow Kate on Twitter, perhaps here. Please like, please subscribe if you haven't, to get more videos from me, and if you want to get notified of videos, also click the bell. Anything else you want to say at the end?
No, follow Ellie, she's doing many good things, and it's really useful to watch all her, I watch all her videos, so you should too. She does, because she also sends me WhatsApp messages about how good my skin looks in videos, not about what's in the video. Alright,